Is everybody? Good afternoon. Today was the starting point, and I am pleased that it seems like the members and senators on the panel are ready to work in a constructive way. I want to echo my colleagues, we must not have another government shutdown. So we will work thoughtfully and quickly to produce a compromise that the American people can be proud of. A finished product will include a good Homeland Security bill, the other 6 outstanding appropriations bills, and an emergency disaster supplemental bill. House Democrats have already included $1.6 billion for border security, related programs in the 6 outstanding appropriation bills. As we negotiate Homeland Security, we will expand on that amount. We will do so in a smart and effective way. For more on that, I'd like to yield to my colleague, Lucille Roybal Allard. She is the distinguished chairwoman of the Homeland Security Subcommittee, and she will provide more details on where Democrats will begin our negotiations. Lucille.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me just say that I was very pleased by the meeting that we just had, because I think what it reflects is that we, as Republicans and Democrats in both both houses, have more agreement than disagreement. So that's a very strong starting point for us. And I'm actually very, very pleased that we've been able to begin that work on our spending bill for the Department of Homeland Security. Within the limited funding available in the bill, we are going to be fighting for a balanced investment across the department's mission areas. And we will be pushing for a strong but smart border security posture, and one that does not rely on costly physical barriers. And I'd just like to highlight some of the priorities that House Democrats will be bringing to the negotiating table. Our proposal provides funding for 1,000 new custom officers, new imaging technology at the ports of entry to ensure that all vehicles are scanned before entering our country for drugs and other contraband. New equipment at mail processing facilities to interdict fentanyl and other opioids shipped through the international mail. New cutting-edge technology along the border to improve situational awareness, and an expansion of CBP's air and marine operations along the border and U.S. waters. There's also an expansion of risk-based targeting of passengers and cargo entering the United States, and critical repair projects at ports of entry. The proposal also includes funding to address the only real crisis that is at the border, which is not a border security crisis, but a humanitarian one, by improving CBP's capacity to appropriately meet the needs of migrants who are temporarily in their custody. It supports the hiring of new Homeland Security investigation agents to focus on drug smuggling, gang crimes, financial crimes, and other high-priority law enforcement areas. It includes funding to expand ICE's alternative to detention program, including family case management. And correspondingly, it significantly reduces ICE detention beds, requires more frequent detention facility inspections, which currently is once every 3 years. We're expanding it so that it is going to be twice a year. And it limits ICE's ability to use more detention beds than Congress intends to fund. Our proposal supports many other Homeland Security priorities, which we will not have the funding to address if the President insists that we set aside $5.7 billion for border barriers. And these include, for example, we could not invest in targeted increases in FEMA preparedness grant programs, could not invest and support for the Coast Guard's personnel and air and marine fleets, including a new polar icebreaker, which is absolutely critical because we are extremely vulnerable right now in the Arctic, where at times there is absolutely no U.S. presence, where Russia and China is coming into that area to claim the waterways and to claim the rich resources are in that area. Also, we could not provide investments in TSA's ability to detect threats at security checkpoints without slowing air travel. In other words, Democrats support homeland security, including border security, that is smart, effective, and consistent with our core values as Americans. And I really do look forward to working with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle in both houses to reach an agreement without the threat of another government shutdown.
Thank you very much. We'll be taking questions, and then any of my colleagues can respond. Yes?
Is the price tag for what you're outlining here $5.7 billion?
I don't think we've outlined a price tag of $5.7 billion. We're going into a conference, and you heard our priorities, and I thought the senators were particularly effective in their desire to work closely with us. So this is what this conference is all about. We're going to be evaluating all the facts. In addition, we'll be talking to as many experts as we feel necessary, and then we'll resolve the money.
What is the cost of what you're outlining here?
Oh, you've heard a lot of proposals here today. I cannot give you the total right now. Yes.
This outline says the security posture does not rely on costly physical barriers. Given the give and take that will naturally occur during this conference, is it your view that physical barriers is a non-negotiable for the Democratic side?
At this point, we are going to have, I hope to be, a very successful conference. We're going to be discussing with Democrats, Republicans, the experts, what is most effective. And at this point, I'm certainly not going to give an answer to that question.
Can I attempt to follow up on that? Is there any money in your proposal for new or repaired physical barriers of any kind?
I don't think I'm going to answer that today because, as you heard, today is Wednesday. We have a short timeline. We're going to have a real intense negotiation period. We're going to bring in additional experts if needed. And so I'm not making, unless my other colleagues have any response, I'm not going to give you the conclusion. We're going into this conference and we're open to everyone's facts and figures. But I could be sure, I want to assure you that we're going to be talking about facts.
I don't need a conclusion. I'm just curious if there's any money in the starting point.
Everything's on the table.
Madam Chairwoman, the President
Where's Lucille? Do you want to answer too?
Well, right now, there's none.
If you're asking if there's any money for, like, the border wall, no, there is not.
The President
You can
has
come
said
answer these.
The odds of a deal here at less than 50-50. Are those chances that you agree with?
I would like to say that I thought this conference was very effective, very cooperative, whether I'm talking about a Democrat or Republican, and we intend to work together, and I would hope that if the president is going to contribute, it can be in a constructive way and not eliminate or not come to any conclusions. I heard both privately and you heard the comments at the conference from Democrats and Republicans who all want to work to solve these problems. Yes.
Chairwoman, in terms of the scope of these negotiations, are other immigration provisions like DACA or TPS part of this conversation, or do the conferees have an understanding that this is just a matter of funding?
It's just a matter of border security at this moment. Yes.
Chair, have you, in these conversations, heard anything from your Republican colleagues that leads you, that you've called yourself an optimist, that leads you to be optimistic that they will move away from the president's demands?
I think you all attended this conference briefing, isn't that correct? And I detected from all of my colleagues in the Senate and the House, Democrat and Republican, a commitment to work as hard as we can to get a good agreement.
But that agreement for the president is absolutely.
The president wasn't here today. We heard from Democrats, Republicans, House and Senate about their real commitment to try and resolve this issue. And we have a very short timeline. And I am cautiously optimistic that the members here of this committee are sincere about wanting to use facts and figures to resolve this issue and do it as expeditiously as possible. Yes?
In the conference, several Republicans suggested calling in Nicolina to talk about specifically what is needed at the border, the facts. Is that something that you're willing to entertain? And then also, will all of these be open moving forward?
Let me say this. I've attended, and Chairwoman Roybal Allard has presided, and many of my colleagues have joined her at many, many briefings from the experts. You can comment further if you would like. But it's at this moment, we have a limited time frame. We've been talking about maybe taking a trip to the border, but there is not much time. We want to get this done, and we want to be productive, and we're cautiously optimistic that we can get a good bipartisan proposal. You heard all the senators today, I think, were very, very focused and determined to resolve this challenge.
I go to the border every week, so when I go.
Yes, you can all chip in.
I think it's also important to remember that we're dealing with the 2019 funding bill, for which we had hearings. We had McAleenan before our committee. We had ICE before our committee. We had all the agencies that fall under the Department of Homeland Security, you know, the key ones. They all came and they testified and told us what they needs were. And we have had several meetings last year, meeting with them to find out exactly what their needs were. So we are not writing the 2020 bill. And I think that's really important to understand. And with these unusual circumstances, with the shutdown of the government, we had a very limited time to deal with or finish the 2019, so then we can begin the whole process of doing the 2020, where we will have the public hearings and bring in all the relevant agencies to testify as to what their needs are as we go forward.
Yes.
Chairwoman, regarding the icebreaker, does your proposal intend to match or push up the $750 million that was already approved by the Senate?
You want to answer the icebreaker?
In that amount of money, there has been, my understanding from the Coast Guard, that they have determined that that may not be the figure that they need. And so, again, we're going to use whatever the latest estimate is that they give us. But my understanding is that that figure is no longer a valid figure.
And has the Coast Guard indicated to you that if you appropriate that amount, they can still remain on schedule with the icebreaker program and award a contract by this year?
I believe that they still can, yes.
Yes.
Caucus Chair Jeffries said yesterday that he
Pardon?
Caucus Chair Jeffries said yesterday during the meeting that during the press conference, that that Democrats would support additional funding for fencing where there was evidence for it. Does that not fall into this position of not relying on costly physical barriers?
I can't hear them. Do you know? You
say.
want to respond to that?
So I guess all I'd say is, and you gave his quote accurately. What he said is exactly what the speaker said, and what Chairwoman Lucille Roybal-Allard and Chairwoman Lowy have said, is that we want to follow the facts. But what we can't do is arbitrarily pick a number for a border wall that we don't feel is effective and allocate funding for that. Let's follow the facts. Let's talk to the experts that have already been discussed. If there are future requests, we'll talk to more experts. But what we don't want to do is arbitrarily make decisions that compromise other priorities like icebreakers, like other ports of entry investments in technologies. We should be thinking about, if we have $1 to invest, what is the most effective way we could spend that tax dollar in order to protect our borders?
You know, I think it's important to remind all those gathered today that before the government shutdown, we had passed 6 bills that had been approved by the Senate, and we had proposed 30 days to focus with intensity on homeland security. Then the government shut down. So I think we all understand how serious the problem of border security is. And we have been interacting with experts, and at the time we proposed 30 days to have additional hearings, to have additional discussion. And certainly in the Homeland Security Committee, we've been working on this for the past year. You know, that's an important point I want to stress again. It's not as if we're just discussing this issue. As my colleague said, we've been working on this for the past year. I've had my roller skates on going from hearing to hearing to hearing. We brought in experts. I've seen maps. Lucille Roybal-Allard is so well informed on this issue because this is her job, and she has been approaching it, as all my colleagues have, with a determination to find out the best way forward. Why don't we just take one more question? How many do we have time for? One more? Yes.
Trump said last week that if there's no deal in 3 weeks, there could be another shutdown, or he'll declare an emergency. How much leverage does that give him over you?
I have no comment on that. I don't think that's the way to run the government. You heard, for all of you who are at this hearing, all the members who participated, I thought, really had facts and determination to solve the problem. Shall I say, I raised 3 children. I now have 8 grandchildren, and I think it's best dealing with them with facts and figures rather than threats. So thank you very much.